This video will demonstrate how to remove and install a carousel assembly into a RLS tape library. The first thing you need to do is to pull your library out of its rack. Once you have your library on a platform, you want to go ahead and open up the top cover. To open the top cover, you have to remove 4 screws on the side of the library. Here, 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 and here. For this demonstration, most of the screws have already been removed, and we'll go ahead and remove the final screw. Once that last screw is removed, you can lift the library up. Once the cover is lifted up, you can take a look inside the library and see the carousel assembly. You want to go ahead and make sure that any magazines or tapes are removed from the carousel assembly. After you've opened the top cover, you want to go ahead and tilt the library on its side. You want to tilt it so that it's on its left side. Just a word of advice, when you're tilting it, because the front of the library here, because the edge sticks out, it's probably easier to position the library so that the front part of the library is hanging over the front edge of the table, and that way when you slip it onto its side, it's actually still on a flat surface. Now to remove the carousel, you want to remove 5 screws that keep the carousel in place. The 5 screws are here, 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 and then the last one is here. Now, what I would suggest is when you go ahead and start removing these screws, have another person come and kind of assist you with this, because what they can do is they can hold the carousel in place as you start removing the screws. Because what ends up happening is once the screws start getting removed, if no one is holding the carousel, it will just fall down and can potentially cause some additional damage. So if you have someone help you out and just kind of hold the carousel in position, it makes it simpler to get the carousel out. After the last screw has been removed, you want to take a look at the 5 screws, because what you'll notice is that 2 of the screws are longer than the other 3. The 2 longer screws go on the bottom or the left side of the library. The 3 smaller screws were the top 3 screws here. Once the 5 screws have been removed, you can go ahead and keep the library on its side, reach in and disconnect the serial cable here. And then go ahead and lift the carousel and remove it from the library. To prevent any damage from occurring during the shipping process, we're going to ship the carousel and the carousel PCBA separately. So when you receive the package, you have to install the carousel PCBA onto the carousel before installing it into the library. To install the carousel PCBA onto the carousel, you grab the board and the 2 screws, and the board's going to be attached to these 2 standoffs. Once the screws have been tightened, you want to go ahead and manually turn the carousel and make sure that the flags intercept the sensors here. After verifying that the carousel is able to spin, you want to just go ahead and connect the cable. Your carousel assembly is now ready to be installed into the library. To install the replacement carousel back into the library, once again you want to go ahead and open the top cover and place the library on its side. You want to go ahead and place your carousel assembly into the library. Now, as before, when we were removing the screws that hold the carousel in place, it was suggested that an assistant would be helpful to keep the carousel from falling down. When you're putting the carousel into the library, it's the same scenario. It would be very helpful to have a partner holding or positioning the carousel in its proper position as you go around to the underside of the library and install the screws back in. To make installing the carousel assembly simpler, you want to have your partner kind of position the carousel from the other side of the library while you're on this side kind of aligning the screw holes. To make things simpler, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and kind of put in this screw first, align the carousel assembly with this top screw here, and then adjust the bottom screw here. Once both of these two screws have been installed, reattaching the other 3 screws that are left is much simpler. After attaching the 5 screws back into the library, you want to go ahead and put the library back on its feet and go in and reattach the cable from the library to the carousel assembly. When attaching the serial cable back to the carousel assembly, you want to make sure to place the cable underneath the clips to avoid any entanglements.